Greetings, fight fans. It's Capital Combat. Name says it all. This is Rob Jarrell. And I got one more quick counter for you, but for the end of the year, this is my thoughts on the heavyweight division. Now, while this is the weakest that we've seen the heavyweight division in God knows how long, things got interesting. With Tyson's Fury win over Vladimir Klitschko, that has released 3 belts. That's 3 open belts. Now, Tyson Fury does have them all, but he's going to be forced to drop the WBC. I will have to check that. I'm on my computer. But while we're talking about that, that releases 3 belts. One he has to drop. He's being forced to drop because he's going to fight Vladimir Klitschko one more time. In a rematch. I don't have the date yet, but it has been signed, sealed, and delivered. So we're going to see if Tyson Fury is the real deal, or we're going to see if Vladimir Klitschko just had an off night. Now, with that being said, that should be for 2 belts. The belt that he... Yeah, I know I'm typing on my computer. This is so unlike us. The reason is that we're going to see other fighters fight for a title, which is awesome. But is it who we really want to see? Now, this is what we know. Deontay Wilder still has his belt. He is the current heavyweight champion for I want to say the WBC. Yes, the WBC belt. So he's supposed to be fighting Artur Szpilka next, which is he's a tough heavyweight, but he has a TKO loss to Brian Jennings. So he's done what he's had to do. He's going to come back. He's going to fight Deontay Wilder for that heavyweight title, which is an interesting matchup. In this, after this fight, they're working on a deal for him to fight Alexander Povetkin, who just went tooth and nail with Mariusz Wach. And Mariusz Wach is no slouch. He's big. He has good skills, just not the most overly skilled or really fast heavyweight. But it's just an interesting matchup. He has 2 tough matchups that he will have. And that's good for him because Szpilka he's tall, he's strong, he's got good skills. And then Povetkin, who has pretty much fared pretty good against everyone except Wach, pretty well, except for his bid to beat Vladimir Klitschko. Now he's probably the most dangerous of any opponent that Deontay Wilder has had or will have for a while. And now that I have it, the Klitschko lost the WBA, WBO, and IBF heavyweight titles and lost to Tyson Fury. And I'll bring it up in a second. And that brings me to the belt that will be released and fought for a championship. That's between 2 undefeated heavyweights, Charles Martin and Glazkov. Yes, Vladislav Tsar Glazkov. Both of them are undefeated. They both have 1 blemish on their record, and that is they both have a draw. We know Glazkov is a really good fighter. He is skilled, but he's had some questionable decisions. And we just have to, he defeated Steve Cunningham. That was everyone saying that is definitely a robbery. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he drew with Malik Scott. Yeah, he drew with Malik Scott. So that was a split draw against Malik Scott. Then he had that really close match versus Steve Cunningham. So it's a good matchup, but they'll probably match him soft since he's... And I'm not saying Charles Martin. I just never really seen him. I think I've seen him once. and he hasn't really had great competition. Deontay Wilder. So we're looking at Deontay Wilder, Povetkin, Spilka, Martin, Fury, Klitschko, and Glaskov. But who does that leave? Well, Luis Ortiz just beat Brian Jennings in a heavyweight tilt not too long ago by knockout. And Brian Jennings has never been down, but he did not have the right strategy going in. Like Ortiz, big, strong, skilled Cuban heavyweight. He's not the technical just counter puncher. He will go after you. Brian Jennings was his best opponent to date. Jennings has fought Klitschko. We know he's fought Spilka. So he's had some decent competition. Now, I think Jennings, who is now under John David Jackson, has some learning. This was a learning experience, and he needs to learn to like various output and a little bit better defense. But he'll be okay. I think he's going to come back and fight well. So Brian Jennings will always be in a hunt. Luis Ortiz still undefeated, very skilled, very strong. Does leave a bit to be desired in the conditioning standpoint because of his style, and he can just kind of go heavy in fights. Now, with that being said, we have Hughie Fury, who's working his way up. That is the brother Tyson Fury, who they say he's better than him. We had David Haye, who's making his comeback. His fight will be very, very soon. He's fighting kind of an unknown guy. I think the guy has like one loss. And then we have Anthony Joshua. I'm sorry, Anthony Joshua out of England, he's looking great. And he passed the chin check test against Dillian Whyte, and Dillian Whyte was also undefeated. And I love that fight because it was two young undefeated lions going in against each other, and whew, he hurt him. And we know in the heavyweight division, it only takes one punch to change a fight. Dillian Whyte almost took out Anthony Joshua, but Joshua's throwing back. He's got great skills. He's good, muscular, got good speed, Olympic pedigree. So they're talking about he might be the best out the bunch. And I'm sorry, I got to agree. The guy's got like 6 feet. He's like 6'6", 230, 240 pounds. And that was a good test for Joshua. And I think that's going to be his entry to start getting those top 15 and top 10 heavyweight fighters. And there's another guy that we definitely shouldn't forget about, and that's Joseph Parker out of, it's either Australia or New Zealand. He's been making a lot of noise, and that guy's on the come up as well. He hasn't had the greatest competition, and I'm gonna look up his competition for a second. But he's another big six. He's 6'4". He's big, and he fights out in New Zealand. And he's had the standard guys that you fight, like Bui Tupu, Kali Meehan, Sherman Williams, Brian Minto, those guys. So he's been working his way up. But he now is 17-0, which means he's going to start looking for those top 20, top 15 fighters rather soon. So he's going to be really interesting. And don't forget, we still got Malik Scott, who is still a big threat. Someone will take on Tony Thompson. It's some other guys. David Price, even though he's been knocked out 3 times by a guy, Erkpan Tepper, who got busted for performance enhancement drugs. Hopefully that was not a big thing, too big of a thing, but he'll be suspended for a while. But that guy was making noise. And Andy Ruiz, which was heavyweight, I believe he is Mexican-American out of the United States, and he's been knocking people out. Good skills. You just haven't seen him on the big stage unless you were watching BN Sports or HBO Latino or Unimas. So he's a name to watch out for. There's a lot of undefeated guys. What needs to happen is, in my thoughts, the heavyweight division, those guys do not fight often enough, and all you have to do is put them out there so people can see them. And when people start seeing them, then you'll start really taking interest in the heavyweight division, because there are some guys that are skilled. Oh, and Robert Helenius is back. He's been out on injury. He just won his last fight. And it's going to be really interesting because it really is international. You're going to see a mixture of just different ethnicities and guys that are going to be fighting. So it is definitely worth paying attention to in 2016 if you can get these guys in the ring with each other. It's about time. A lot of these guys are 15, 16, 17, 18 and 0, and it's time that these undefeated heavyweights need to start fighting each other, because the fights are there to be made, and all these guys just aren't big lumbering guys. Even Gerald Washington, who beat Amir Mansour, football player, probably needs to hone his skills, because he left a lot to be desired, but he has the prototypical and desired size and athleticism and strength for a heavyweight. But he just doesn't have the accurate punching or the accurate head movement. So he needs to really tighten up and take some time and get some sparring in and really learn the game. So that's all I want to bring to you. I named a bunch of heavyweights. A lot of these guys are undefeated, or they have 1 or 2 losses. They're all good. Again, the heavyweight division is that golden era has passed. And now that those titles have been freed up, unless Klitschko wins 2 of them back, it's going to be worth watching. I think it's going to be interesting. Fortunately, you don't have the Riddick Bowes or the Evander Holyfields, but it's a new crop of guys with some serious power, personality, and skills that are still out here that might be worth watching. We just need to see which guy can get to the top of the mountain and take over where Vladimir Klitschko when he moves on. That's all I got for you guys today. Have a happy new year. 2016 is coming. Don't forget to hit us up, capitalcombat@gmail.com. Send us a message at Facebook at Capital Combat, Instagram Capital Combat, and Google Plus Capital Combat. That's all I got for you. Peace.